After my last hardware review, many people wrote in to say you should do more hardware reviews. Well, I remind you again that I don't do hardware reviews. That being said, here's another one. The X6 is another device like the Gamebox-powered G3 that comes from China and is filled with crimes. Unlike the G3 NES on a chip device, however, the X6 is a handheld that runs emulators for multiple gaming systems. Somewhat poorly, I must say, but I'm getting ahead of myself. At first glance, the X6 seems pretty cool. It's aping the design of some higher-priced handhelds, but with some notable concessions. Lights around the analog sticks, seen on some more expensive devices, are replaced by colored stickers on the X6, for example. The face buttons, while appealing in photos, are nothing more than little colored tic-tac nubs that don't feel great while you're using them. And it's definitely lighter than you think it's going to be. I like my devices to have a little heft to them, and while this doesn't feel completely lightweight, you can tell there's just not much to it. And yet it does have numerous ports like a TV out, a USB-C slot for charging, a place for your micro SD card, and an older USB port for what I assume is to be used for a second controller. However, mine did not come with one. Images on the packaging, though, suggest that this is indeed the case. I have two chief complaints about the X6. First, there's the screen. It's bigger and brighter than the G3, that's a plus. The specifications list it as a 640 by 480 3.5-inch IPS screen, which is surprisingly good for one of these. However, something you're probably not going to be able to see with me shooting the screen, and I can't quite explain this accurately, but the screen feels like a cheap replacement for a 3DS screen. It has a very lenticular feel to it, and it physically hurts my eyes to look at it directly for more than a few minutes. I have to tilt it ever so slightly to the side to get an image that doesn't make my eyes burn. It feels like there's a subtle 3D setting turned on that doesn't do anything except cause pain. Maybe it's a resolution or a scaling issue, I don't know, but it's not just one game or one system, it's the display itself. So that's my main deal breaker. I need to be able to see my games for more than a minute or two. The other issue I have here is with the OS. The included operating system is ancient and makes what should be snappy and easy to browse through a chore instead. That's not what you want in an inexpensive pick-up-and-play device meant for recreation. At least with the G3, the menu comes right up and you can instantly scroll through all the games. The software seems to be a holdover from a PDA or an ancient tablet, as there are options for photos, videos, ebooks, etc. Just a bunch of junk getting in the way of what we're all here for. The games are broken down by system, but with mismatched names and icons leaving you no choice but to go into each subfolder to find out what it actually is. And good luck with that. Most retail listings indicate that the X6 will come with a micro SD card filled with, files, and the included emulators will give you access to Game Boy, Game Boy Color and Advance, Nintendo and Super Nintendo, Genesis, Arcade, and a few more systems. The library is chaos, though, with games often sorted by a number instead of a name, and there are tons of misspellings and duplicates all throughout each section. With these being stored on the SD card, you could, in theory, plug it into a computer and clean it up yourself, but you shouldn't have to jump through such hoops just to play your region's version of, real monsters. Also, never plug an included SD card or thumb drive from one of these things into your personal devices. Just don't do that. The system's slowness to respond extends beyond the UI. The power button sometimes reacts to you pressing it, and sometimes not. The volume button treats presses like more of a suggestion than a command. It's like owning a cat, just without whatever the benefit of owning a cat is. All games will launch with the image stretch to fill the screen by default, which is not ideal. Other devices often give you no way to alter this, but thankfully the X6 includes the option to change the display to either original size, which you don't want either because the image will be too small, or to scale the image, which will fill the screen while preserving the original aspect ratio. Great, hooray! However, instead of filling the empty space with nothing, it instead uses blinding white light for the edges of the screen, which you cannot change. Every time this thing starts to do something right, I swear. As far as how it runs the games themselves, that should be a slam dunk, since it's not aiming for anything too powerful, but I feel like even that is dicey. The occasional Genesis or NES game will start running with janky audio or massive slowdown, and it's just deflating. You'll see with a lot of reviews of devices here on YouTube that everyone focuses on how they run more powerful systems, while sometimes saying a throwaway line about how it'll play 8 and 16-bit just fine. Well, I'm here to tell you that the X6 doesn't do that. It will struggle with certain systems. So you might see the box or the specs and think, well, it's not aiming too high, that should be fine. It's not. When I say Genesis games are pushing it, that's a big red flag, especially for where the tech is today with these kinds of handhelds. Now, to be positive for a minute, there is a very basic save state feature on this system, which I do appreciate because usually these cheap handhelds don't have that at all. And I do like the form factor. It's comfortable in my old man hands and the shoulder buttons work well. They're good and clicky too, which I appreciate. I could forgive the device's software shortcomings if I could, stand to look at it to play the games that do run fine. When you get to the essence of what I need from one of these devices, I need to be able to 1. See the games, and B. Hear the games. The lackadaisical volume buttons have made sure I can hear the games, but seeing them hurts. And I'm not paying money for that. I really recommend spending an extra couple of dollars on something that will run a basic library of old games with a decent interface, and one that also doesn't have a demon inside that causes blindness. Even if I got a system with a malfunctioning screen and they all don't look like this, the UI is enough of a chore to make me not want to deal with it. Compared with the last device I reviewed, it is better in almost every way, and maybe your eyes are stronger than mine and won't melt out of your skull like mine are currently doing. But like the G3, I think this is a device for the landfill, sadly. Something better off stacked up in a Chinese warehouse collecting dust, instead of sitting in your junk drawer collecting dust. Well, that's it for this one. Sorry it's another downer, but I just think you can do better with your disposable income than this particular device, even though it's about $10 more than the last one. But while it does feature numerous improvements for that extra money, it's still not good enough to even be considered just fine. Oh well, I'll keep looking. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know if you want me to keep talking about these in the comment section below. And until next time, let's play some games. Wait, what the hell?